was under detention within the premises of the armed forces because of the martial law proceedings then ongoing, then he will be restored or detained in the same location. It all depends on where he was at the time that the amnesty was issued.
Sir, when waiting for an alias warrant, pwede pong sa Senate muna?
That's what I said. No, maybe that's the reason why Senator Tito Soto would like to discuss this with the rest of his colleagues. So we believe that's a fair and reasonable arrangement. In the meantime, that the prosecution, the DOJ, and the armed forces are still, reviewing their records. But there's already a directive to put him under custody. So I guess that's the best possible arrangement in the meantime. But he is not immune from arrest, as I would like to emphasize. All right, that's just for convenience.
Should the custody being spoken out in the proclamation is in terms of immediate custody, but since subsequently you'll be applying for the issuance of an alias warrant, then there has to be a return of the warrant, and therefore we will follow the same procedure that the court will now determine where, via commitment order, siya.
Yes, very true. Once the court acquires jurisdiction over the person of the accused, then his place of detention will also be determined by the court which acquired jurisdiction.
Secretary, nakapag-request na po ba ang DOJ ng alias warrant sa...
Di ba? Kasi nga yung mga records, halukayin pa namin yan eh. 2003 case pa. And we got this proclamation only yesterday. So we need to take a look at the records first.
Sir, it's now found na meron nung na-comply na requirements sa Senator Trillanes. Can we say na yung grant sa kanya by the previous administration is correct?
Void nga eh, not only irregular but void, no? So I cannot really answer for those for the people who granted the amnesty at that time. Remember that there was an ad hoc committee under Proclamation number 75 during the time of President Noynoy Aquino, which created this ad hoc committee for the grant of amnesty to those involved in the mutiny, in the Oakwood mutiny and the other incidents, no? And it was, I think, the approval of the applications for amnesty at that time was given by the DND secretary at that time, si Secretary Voltaire Gasmin, all right, as mentioned in the proclamation. So, well, if there was non-compliance with some requirements, but nonetheless, amnesty was granted, I think it would be for Secretary Voltaire to explain that. No, it's not for us to to dwell into that matter because that happened many years ago.
Sir, going back to the requirements, he has to satisfy both or just one?
Yeah, both. Because I guess now I have not seen the form, but I suppose that form would contain a section where he would expressly admit that he's guilty of the offense charged. No. Because I would surmise na kasama yun. Because that form, application form, is under oath. All right? So, such an important requirement like admission of guilt is something that should be contained in that form under oath. So, to me, that is the more important requirement rather than the form. All right? It's the admission of guilt and that you are pleading for executive clemency.
Ibig sabihin, sir, even if he can prove that he did apply in 2011, pero wala namang admission, wala rin na valid.
Yeah, that would seem to be the case. Ang problema rito, parang meron yatang certain media statement si Senator Trillanes na parang sinasabi niya na dinidisclaim niya expressly yung kanyang guilt for any wrongdoing, and that apparently according to the proclamation, hindi yan ang dapat na charge sa kanya but something else, no? Kung ano yung something else na yon, hindi niya sinabi. Pero apparently based on the proclamation again, ay meron siya mga statements to the media before na sinasabi niya na hindi ito ang charges to which I will plead guilty. Something to that effect.
Sir, walang attachment ng admission of guilt dun sa application?
Ang tingin ko nga, it might be in the form of an affidavit, all right, under oath, attached to the form, or incorporated in the form itself.
As long as under oath, no?
Yes, yun ang mahalaga dun eh. For something like that, it's got to be under oath.
Sir,
No.
this was his interview in 2011. Quote, "We admit guilt as far as rising up against the most corrupt president," referring to this country has ever had proudly. Does this qualify as an admission to the crime?
The crime charge is coup d'etat. All right, so there must be an express admission of guilt to the offense of coup d'etat.
So may mention ng coup d'etat.
Yes, of course.
Not just the mere uprising against the most.
Yes, because the elements may be different.
Alright.
Sir, for those who are saying that this will create a chilling effect, not only to the opposition, but those more regular tao who may be opposing this administration, that they can no longer verbalize their opposition and then things like this happen. What is the message?
No, it's not a question of political opposition. It's a matter of compliance with the law. All right, this is a matter which is provided in the Constitution itself. When the chief executive grants clemency, all right, all the requirements must be naturally complied with. So we're just following the rule of law here. If something was not followed before, then the government is not barred from making the proper rectification to such a mistake. All right, so that's how we view these matters, no? And this may happen again in the future, not to scare anyone, but just to ensure that all the laws are followed and obeyed.
Secretary, any comment? This is the third decision daw na nakalagay ab initio from the beginning. First is Sereno, second is the land resource with the, and the third is for Trillanes.
So what is your question?
Ab initio sa
No, it just so happened that all of these matters seem to be invalid right from the beginning. Nakakataon lang yun. It's not a fad. I'm telling you, it's not a fad. It just so happened that all of these events, these acts happen to be declared up after a serious review as void from a legal standpoint. Walang pattern yun. Ano lang yun? Nagkakataon lang yun. Oo, yeah.
Can Trillanes seek relief from the court and can this issue be subject of judicial review?
It's up to him. It's up to him. I will not teach him what to do. His lawyers are are very capable of thinking what the legal remedies are available to him.
Secretary, clarification lang. If we can prove na from the very start meron naman talaga siyang requirement, can the amnesty be restored without him having to apply to the for...
Let's cross the bridge when we get there.
But the repositories of all these documents are saying, sir, that they do not exist.
That's what the DND says. They have no records of such an official application. So if... sorry? Well, we don't know. We presume that duties are regularly performed not only in the civil government but also in the military organization.
So itong declaration of initio, where can he challenge it?
Well, as I said, it's up to him. I will not teach him. He has plenty of lawyers.
First impression.
Supreme Court, sir. Procedure.
Well, I guess this is any act on the part of government is subject to judicial review to determine whether there has been grave abuse of discretion. So that's in the Constitution. So be it. So bahala na sila. Pick it up from there.
Judicial review by...
Judicial review in general. So depending on the hierarchy of courts, kung saan nila tingin na proper, depending on the importance of the issue, then they will have to decide where to go.
What is the first venue for him? I think is the office of the president, sir, for exhaustion of remedies, sir.
No, this is not an administrative case. All right, this is a matter of executive prerogative. This is executive clemency that we're talking about. This is an act of grace. All right, so we're not talking about a simple administrative case where you have to exhaust administrative remedies before you go to courts. All right, so this pertains to something that is purely personal to the president because it involves his discretion. All right, in the case of amnesty, of course, that's subject to concurrence by majority vote of the Congress. All right, in the case of amnesty.
Amnesty?
Yes, exactly. I'm saying executive clemency in general is a matter of grace on the part of the president. But with respect to amnesty, which involves political crimes, all right, the concurrence of a majority of Congress is a requirement.
This one does not.
There was an issue, I remember, so before it was presented to Congress, there was no admission of guilt. Even way back, there was an issue raised.
No admission of guilt. So,
Because before you present it to Congress, all the requirements have to be complied.
okay, all right.
So
Okay.
this one does not need the concurrence of Congress.
Amnesty requires
Okay.
congressional concurrence.
But
void nga.
Yeah, but you know, what will Congress concur to if in the beginning it was invalid?
Sir,
Okay.
has there been an amnesty before na void, dineclare na void?
I'm sorry again.
Has there been an amnesty before that was declared absent? Or is this really the first?
I do not recall of any that has happened in the past, but I'm not sure about that. We're talking about decades of executive clemency. There might have been, but I don't recall any where an amnesty given was set aside for being void ab
So
initio.
since this was presented to Congress, sir, this does not cure whatever defect.
That is a legal issue that it's a legal issue that perhaps will have to be resolved in due time.
Sir, clarification, Christine Packet from Filter. Sir, clarification na po, the review was done by Office of the Solicitor General. Is this under Soljan Kalita or the 2013 from the